African nations are looking towards a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Kenya and Uganda are two Great Lakes African countries having similarities in areas such as trade, infrastructure, security, education, and more. From 1961 to 1965, the two states, along with Tanzania, were closely united in the East African Common Services Organization. They had a common market with a loose federal structure. Looking at the similarities both countries have shared over the years, Kenya and Uganda could jointly form an entity that will be very beneficial for them and other countries. They are both inhabited by significant Swahili-speaking populations and also share cultural similarities. History also has it that Uganda was the largest export destination for Kenyan goods. However, Tanzania gained a greater portion of imports of Kenyan goods in 2014, according to our findings. Like the republics of Kenya and Rwanda, Uganda has abolished work permit fees for Kenyans and Rwandans, meaning that Kenyans relocating to Uganda can obtain work permits at no cost. This is what could likely happen if Kenya and Uganda work closer together, summarized under 8 subtitles. Stay glued to your screen and watch till the end. 1. If Kenya and Uganda work closer together, their already existing trading benefits will increase accordingly. If you do not trade, you cannot create wealth. It is not a secret that Kenya and Uganda are friendly neighbors and big trading partners. Both countries are also founding members of the East African Community, which plays a major role in enhancing trade and the overall relations between the two countries. According to the United Nations database on international trade, Kenya's exports to Uganda in 2021 were about $900 million. Trading relations between Kenya and Uganda have not been without hitches. For instance, in 2020, Kenya barred sugar and sugarcane from Uganda, causing traders to lose billions as the products intended for exports were left to rot in trucks at the nation's border. However, if both countries work closer together, they can easily benefit more from each other, as you can already notice. Give this video a like if it's interesting to you. 2. Kenya and Uganda will benefit from intellectual and professional competence if they work closely together. Although Uganda's education system closely follows that of Britain and Kenya's reflects that of the United States, the technical and professional benefits they have are quite enormous. Cooperation amongst nations is important in international development since there is a promotion of peace among countries, which is the ultimate ingredient for prosperity. Kenya and Uganda are both members of the East African Community, and countries here have a forum whereby expertise are being shared in the domains of agriculture, research, disease control, and sustainable development. The two countries cannot enjoy these opportunities if they are far apart. 3. Kenya and Uganda will peacefully enjoy social amenities if they work closer together. Uganda and Kenya are building a standard gauge railway link that will go through the towns of Nairobi and Mombasa in Kenya and from Kigali to Kampala in Uganda. Since 2014, when this project started, Uganda have largely used the port of Mombasa to get access to international markets. Oil pipelines and health services are other aspects that both countries are exploiting and benefiting from each other. The more the cooperation between Kenya and Uganda grows, the greater the benefits both countries will get. 4. Their diplomatic ties will yield better outcomes. Kenya and Uganda both have high commissions in each other's countries, but is this enough proof to show their importance? Kenya's relations with other states vary, but she has an intrinsic one with Uganda, as you can already affirm. An interesting possible outcome if Kenya and Uganda work closer together will be greatly noticed in the domain of work, since Kenyan nationals work in Uganda and vice versa free of charge. Citizens of both countries may pursue the best opportunities available to them if they tighten their diplomacy. 5. Support will be given to each of the countries in times of need. As you already know, international relations between Kenya and Uganda can promote law enforcement cooperation between them. Nonetheless, Kenya and Uganda are still two sovereign nations, which means not everything can be done freely by expatriates, which can defame both nations. If the two countries work closer together, then, in cases of insecurity, they can freely offer assistance to each other to remediate the situation. There is a big Kenyan community in Kampala, Uganda, and a correspondingly big Ugandan community in Nairobi, Kenya. Do not forget to like this video to show us how important it is to you. Next up, 6. Productivity as a result of partnership between Kenya and Uganda can attract foreign investors. If Kenya and Uganda work closer together, they will obviously attract foreign investment from different countries of the world. The already existing ones will be doubled and rapid development will be the aftermath. According to Business Africa, Kenyan business people and firms are amongst the top investors in Uganda. Ugandan government officials offer free tax incentives to Kenyan investors in this country. Leaving Kenya for Uganda, however, is still an international move. As such, there are certain import and export regulations relating to household goods and personal effects that you will be required to comply with by the Uganda and Kenya revenue authorities. 7. If Kenya and Uganda work closer together, they will be able to handle contemporary issues such as global warming and climate change. Handling contemporary issues such as climate change, global warming, pandemics, and others requires collective efforts of different countries. The fight against these problems is not just for the United Nations. Hence, smaller blocs like that of Kenya and Uganda can join their efforts to combat these threats. There is only one way to tackle challenges that transcend their borders, such as climate change and conflict: cooperation. The governments of Kenya and Uganda partner with the United Nations to break grounds on the new binational agreement for sustainable peace and development in both countries. Conversations on this began in 2019 when ministers from Kenya and Uganda held consultations in Uganda on how to best address conflicts and climate change. 8. The relationship between Kenya and Uganda can promote cooperation, exchanges, and cultural development. Uganda has for decades been an education hub for Kenyan students. More than 40,000 Kenyans are currently studying in Uganda. Kenyan businessmen and companies are also top investors in Uganda, with over 350 firms operating in the country. By building and fostering relationships with one another, Kenya and Uganda can provide opportunities for their citizens to visit new places, meet different people, and get many different skills. The essence of working closer to each other is to enhance growth and foster international cooperation, as you have just watched. Kenya and Uganda share a lot of similarities ranging from economic, diplomatic, and even in the field of technology. Do you think working together is the best way to achieve these goals? Drop a comment in the box below to share your views with us about this video. Before we take lead of you, please like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel, and you will get lots of interesting facts concerning different topics on Africa and the world. Do not also forget to turn on the notification bell after doing this so that you don't miss out on any updates from us. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.